Now, currently, the Walt Disney Company is going through a lot of panic for multiple reasons. We know that different divisions had multiple failures throughout 2023, and even this year, by the way, and what looms for 2025. This is the very important year for Bob Iger that he is trying to use as a way to prove to himself and to the general public that Disney is beginning to shape up again, and so far, it's not turning out well for him. We already know that Captain America 4's test screenings were an ultimate failure. We know that Snow White 2025, following the release of that movie, is also going to be pretty much a destined colossal failure. And then you have the other actual presentations coming out of the Walt Disney Company in the next few months after that release. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Snow White 2025 is that we know that there are those out there like Greta Gerwig, the writer of this film, director Mark Webb, and even now star Rachel Zegler, if you even want to call her a star at this point, really going into full-on damage control mode over the current status of this film, and their overall reaction of what's been going on behind the scenes with this movie and the current status of where it stands. We already know that reshoots are looming, by the way, for this December as a last-ditch effort to fix the third act of this film, to sort of patch things together, to sort of even out the flow of this movie, and to hopefully make the upcoming test screenings a success, and I highly doubt it's going to fix anything. Alright, so focusing on Rachel Zegler, we already know that she is one that completely despises those that are opposed to anything related to DEI, and also to anything Disney agenda related. Now, given that the Walt Disney Company and all of its divisions are now going through numerous cost-cutting strategies by Iger, one significant development that is now active involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and what she had to deliver after Disney made a quick decision behind the scenes to cancel numerous scenes for Snow White that involved Zegler's acting and singing. Now, Zegler delivered the following. Being a part of this project has been the achievement of a lifetime, but it also came with a lot of frustration in how there were so many changes to what we did with the final product and what we are doing now. I'm beginning to learn there is a lot of unfairness in this industry toward younger actresses around my age group that doesn't really get their fair share and treatment. What I will say about Snow White is that some scenes that I was so proud of that properly addressed what the modern female should be like on the big screen, and some of the performances I put on, whether it was myself singing or doing these wonderful acting moments, sadly just didn't work out, and things are being moved around right now and cut out. And it's absolutely unfair in this industry because I'm beginning to realize this happens more and more with younger actresses only that are taken advantage of, and I have been doing my best to speak up toward those that run the show at Disney and what they are trying to do. I have been thankfully very close with Greta, she's talking about Greta Gerwig, who tried to work things out, but Disney wanted to go through a different path. It's just what's to be expected when you are an up-and-coming actress that is just beginning to get the ball rolling, and I am beginning to challenge that when I realize I'm being taken advantage of. Some of the scenes, I would argue, that didn't work out and needed to stay in this movie. They would have been the most magical moments to the younger generation. But let me say this, the film properly breaks apart the source material from both the 1937 original film and the Brothers Grimm tale. It was my idea to make it that Snow White was named Snow White because she survived a snowstorm or a blizzard and was so powerful and empowered for doing that. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a story about empowerment for women at the core, and it always needed to be presented that way. So guys, let me just stop for 1 second before I move on. Now, what's interesting about this is the fact that she is saying that there's a lot of unfairness in the film industry and that she fully expected this to actually happen to her as an up-and-coming actress that's beginning to get the ball rolling. Sounds like she has a lot of mentality related to entitlement, that self-absorbed mentality when it comes to a lot of these younger actresses out there that are really beginning to really make all these different demands. Now, what's interesting here about Zegler is the fact that she goes as far to say that there's a lot of scenes that are getting cut out for Snow White 2025. Is this not ironic, back what she said in 2022 about her co-star Andrew Burnap and saying, oh, you know, some of his scenes may be cut. It's Hollywood, baby. It seems like that claim is being, of course, thrown right back at her and is doing a complete 180. Now, what's interesting about this is that we already know. And that's the thing with this movie. We know in particular those out there like director Mark Webb, Greta Gerwig, the writer of this film, they are pushing their own agenda with this movie. They themselves have gone on record saying that this movie is about addressing sexism and problems with misogyny and everything that is all nonsense coming from the Walt Disney Company. It's not a big shocker that we have entitled actresses connected to a movie like this. And that's exactly why, by the way, there's been a lot of drama happening between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, a lot of personal issues over their own personal beliefs, by the way, as well as creative differences that have been going on behind the scenes. So moving on from all of that, she goes on to continue, we absolutely had to change the meaning of the name Snow White to do something new, and you will see what I mean next year when you get to see that visually. Some of the best scenes I worked on didn't work out, and it was frustrating to even accept that. You would think studios would adapt and experiment to see what the talents have to offer to new age groups just getting into Snow White and a new take on the character. But no, it's a tough business, and it's flat out unfair. And like I said, I think I deserve better treatment on that front. But what can you do? It's to be expected. Regardless, this film will both inspire and most likely offend those that are opposed to female empowerment. So it seems like you have a lot of actresses like Rachel Zegler that have this growing obsession about those that are opposed to this or those that are opposed to that. We saw this with the Acolyte series by those like Jodie Turner-Smith, Amandla Stenberg, and among others out there like Leslie Headland, the creator of that show. It's almost a near similar situation now with Snow White, the live-action remake, and that's exactly why this movie may very well ultimately fail. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you have $300 million plus going into the budget of this movie, plus marketing expenses, which is not a good sign at all from Bob Iger. And that, of course, has a lot to do with the fact that Bob Iger is doubling down. He is the one that actually called for a green light on upcoming reshoots for Snow White. So it's not really shocking the fact that you're now in a scenario where Rachel Zegler is beginning to realize that things are beginning to backfire, both externally and internally over at Disney now, and how there's a lot of scenes that are being deleted / cut and thrown into the trash for all of the test screening failures that took place, a total of 6 of them, by the way. They want to get a 7th one in there by this holiday season. That's going to be done, by the way, before reshoots, and that most likely will also fail regardless of the current re-edits that are taking place right now. So again, like I said earlier, we know that this movie specifically is going to be yet another failure for the Walt Disney Company, given that how much money went into this thing, the personal problems going on between Rachel and Gal, and how that's creating a snag when it comes to the progress for reshoots, etc., etc. It's not looking good for Bob Iger, and it's most certainly not looking good for Rachel Zegler's resume as an actress, because this is going to be yet again another failure on her front. Almost everything that she has starred in has been a failure one after the other through multiple different studios. Now, anyway, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.